want to show you a variety of things that you can do with slabs. First of all, when you're rolling out your slab, make sure you're flipping it every once in a while. Otherwise, it's going to stick to the table and you're going to have to start all over and it's going to make a big mess. Slab should be about half the thickness of your pinky. You can kind of see that right there. I like to sometimes texture slabs, especially if I'm making like a little vase or something. We have all these texture tools, mats, really simple to just roll something into it. But I don't like to stop there because somebody else made this design, right? And I'm just kind of borrowing it. But if you start to combine various texture techniques, then suddenly you've got something that's more your own and not just what somebody else made. Okay? But most importantly, I want to talk about slab clay and moisture level. So because we roll it really thin and ask it to do some pretty demanding things, you can use the clay straight from the bags. Okay, so you just cut off a little with a wire, roll out what you need, but please only use this for slab clay. Otherwise, if you use it for pinching and coiling, we won't have it when we need it. Then you need to decide whether you need to let your slabs dry a little bit. So this is a perfect example of leather hard. It's rigid enough that I can hold it without it sagging, whereas this one that I just rolled out, if I try to hold it, it sags. So we call this soft slab versus hard slab. We will be doing hard slab boxes later. For today, I'm going to show you some soft slab things. All right, so if I want to make a cylinder, then I've got to start with a rectangle. And we have, rulers and all kinds of things if you want to really make sure that it's exactly the right length and yada yada. For today, I'm just going to do a quick demo. There's my floppy slab. Now, because I'm making round forms, cones and cylinders today, and they're fairly small, I don't have to wait for that clay to set up or get leather hard. So I'm just going to grab my serrated rib, as always, slip and score. Use my thumbs to bridge it together, put a little pressure in there, and then I recommend that you sew the seam. Okay? So I'm going to take this tool, I'm going to dig into the slab in one direction, and then another. So obviously that messes up your texture a little bit. You can always go back in, reapply a little texture, so on and so forth. Now, if I want to make this into like a pencil holder, then I'm going to need a bottom or a vase or a cup or whatever it is if you want it to be functional. The easiest thing to do is simply take a scrap of slab, trace out the shape you need, slip and score that whole thing, put it together, and then trim to fit. Otherwise, you might cut your circle ahead of time and it might not fit exactly just right. So I just slip and score, then trim. So that's cylinder, easy peasy, right? Now for a cone. For a cone, obviously you're not going to start out with a rectangle. What you need is more like a slice of pizza. So let's go like that. So it's going to be kind of rounded on the end. It's more like a piece of pizza that already has a little bite out of it. Okay? Then I'm going to cradle that cone in my hands, very gently coax it into the shape that I need. If I just fold it, it's going to look more like a taco. So I've got to kind of tell the clay, hey, I want you to go all the way around 360. Okay, again, fingers are like a little cradle. Thumbs push the clay together. Okay. And then before I really sew this or push too firmly, I'm going to decide, do I want it to be a straight cone? Do I need it to curve off in a certain direction? So let's say mine's got a little curvature to it. I'm going to manipulate the shape before I do the sewing. That gives it a little leeway for those seams to kind of slide around. Then when I'm happy with my shape, press a little more firmly and sew. Okay. Not a bad idea to do a little sewing on the inside. So at this point, I can decide if I want, some of you have like some cool cones and horns and things coming out of your pots. You can slip and score and add it to the outside of another piece. You can trim it if you want to cut this at an angle so that it comes straight up instead of just right out of the side. You can do all kinds of things like that. If you want to use it as a vase, you can pinch off the end. Make sure there's no water, like no hole for water. And then let's say I want to give this to my mamacita for Mother's Day. Okay, so I'm going to put a little hole in the back, just like we did for our pinch pots. Then Mama can pour water in up to there and stick flowers in it, obviously once it's fired and glazed. So you've got an easy peasy little wall vase. But as always, you're gonna kind of clean up your edges, make it nice. Okay, so this slab, soft slab, is not an assignment, but I wanted you to know how to do it in case you need it for additions to your coil pot, or if you get done early and you want to make some gifts for people. All right.